John Banner captured the hearts of millions with a single phrase, "I know nothing," delivered as the lovable Sergeant Schultz in Hogan's Heroes. Wide eyes and flustered delivery made him a television legend.
I must report this. It would be worth my...
Yet behind the laughter lay a life steeped in tragedy, marked by loss, exile, and a mysterious death on his 63rd birthday. The apartment where he took his final breath stood abandoned for years. His wealth vanished without a trace, and his legacy faded into obscurity. What secrets did John Banner carry? Why did his fortune disappear? And what drove him to return to the city of his youth? In this video, we will unveil the hidden truths of a man who brought joy to the world while hiding his own pain. A story of humor, heartbreak, and unanswered questions. The story begins with Sergeant Schultz, a character every television fan recognizes. With his plump cheeks, nervous grin, and knack for avoiding trouble, Schultz appeared in over 160 episodes of Hogan's Heroes, the iconic comedy series that aired from 1965 to 1971. John Banner didn't just play Schultz. He transformed him into a cultural icon. As a guard in Stalag 13, a fictional World War II prisoner of war camp, Schultz was the epitome of cluelessness. When he stumbled upon prisoners digging tunnels, stealing supplies, or plotting escapes, he'd shout, "I know nothing," then turn away as if nothing happened.
Nothing! I know nothing!
His catchphrase became a hallmark of the show, echoing in living rooms across America. Schultz wasn't a hero or a villain. He held no fierce loyalty to the Nazis, nor did he join the prisoners' resistance. He was simply a man terrified of conflict, surviving by pretending not to see the chaos around him. Written as a supporting role to highlight Colonel Hogan and his band of clever American prisoners, Schultz quickly stole the spotlight. Banner infused the character with humor, heart, and a subtle kindness that made him unforgettable. Schultz would quietly slip food to prisoners, hide their secrets, or overlook their schemes, not out of bravery, but because he wanted everyone to get along. Beneath the comedic surface, Schultz represented a man trapped in a system he didn't believe in but couldn't escape. Audiences fell in love with his bumbling charm and the warmth he exuded, making him one of the show's most beloved figures. What made Banner's performance extraordinary was his personal history. A Jewish man who fled Nazi persecution, he portrayed a German soldier with astonishing authenticity. Remarkably, most actors playing German officers in Hogan's Heroes were also Jewish, including Werner Klemperer as Colonel Klink, Leon Askin as General Burkhalter, and Howard Kane as Major Hochstetter. Their performances weren't meant to glorify fascism, but to mock it, turning feared figures into laughable fools. The show's creators used comedy as a weapon, exposing the absurdity and inhumanity of the Nazi regime. German soldiers weren't portrayed as terrifying, but as incompetent clowns, easily outwitted by the prisoners. At the heart of this satire was Schultz, the man who knew everything but chose to say nothing, navigating the war with a shrug and a smile. His silence was neither rebellion nor surrender, but a quiet survival tactic that resonated deeply with viewers. Banner's role catapulted him to fame. His face appeared on magazine covers, he guested on talk shows, and he became a household name. Families across America quoted, "I know nothing" with a chuckle. But when Hogan's Heroes ended in 1971, Banner's stardom began to fade. He tried to recapture his success with a new sitcom, The Chicago Teddy Bears, playing a gentle, conflict-averse character reminiscent of Schultz. The show failed, canceled after just a few episodes. Audiences couldn't see Banner as anyone but Schultz, and perhaps he struggled to break free from the role that defined him. Despite this, Banner achieved what few actors do, turning a supporting character into a timeless legend. Sergeant Schultz wasn't just a fictional figure, he was a reflection of Banner's own experiences, a piece of his soul that continues to live on in reruns, bringing smiles to new generations. To understand the depth of Banner's performance, we must travel back to his early life, a journey marked by pain and resilience. Born on January 28, 1910, in Stanislaw, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and now Ivano-Frankivsk, Ukraine, Banner grew up in a middle-class Jewish family. His father, David Banner, and mother, Mina Treiber, provided a comfortable life, but their fate was tragic. During World War II, both were deported and murdered in the Mauthausen extermination camp. Banner rarely spoke of this loss, but those close to him said it left a permanent scar. As a young man, he studied law at the University of Vienna, a stable career path with promise. Yet his heart lay elsewhere. Drawn to the stage, he abandoned law to pursue theater, where his large frame, deep voice, and warm presence quickly earned him roles in Austrian theater troupes. Many believed he could have become a European film star had history not taken a darker turn. In 1938, everything changed. Hitler's annexation of Austria, known as the Anschluss, unleashed a wave of violence against Jews. Banner, then touring Switzerland with his theater company, faced a harrowing decision to return to Vienna and risk arrest, or flee for his life. He chose survival. From Switzerland, he applied for a U.S. visa and was granted entry as a political refugee. Arriving in New York in 1938, he was alone, penniless, and spoke almost no English. Undeterred, he threw himself into rebuilding his life. He worked odd jobs, from hauling cargo to selling goods, while studying English with relentless determination. Within a year, he landed small roles in off-Broadway productions, his talent shining through despite his thick accent. His persistence paid off, and he soon made his way to Hollywood, where he was cast in supporting roles, often as German soldiers, a cruel irony for a man who had fled the Nazis. When the United States entered World War II, Banner's resolve deepened. He enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, serving as a sergeant in logistics and communications. For a Jewish refugee with a heavy European accent, joining the fight against Nazi Germany was a bold act of defiance. It was also deeply personal, a way to honor his lost family and embrace his new identity as an American. After the war, he returned to acting, finding steady work in Hollywood's flood of war-themed films. He played German officers, soldiers, and prisoners in movies like 7 Miles, from Alcatraz in 1942, The Story of Ruth in 1960, and Hitler in 1962, as well as TV shows like The Untouchables and Rocky Jones, Space Ranger. Though these were minor roles, Banner's professionalism and versatility made him a reliable choice, paving the way for his iconic role as Schultz years later. Colleagues on Hogan's Heroes noted that Banner poured his entire past into Schultz. The role, while comedic, demanded a nuanced understanding of survival, fear, and moral ambiguity, qualities Banner knew intimately. Off camera, he was reserved, rarely laughing even during lighthearted moments. Kind and professional, he kept the media at arm's length, avoiding interviews and never discussing his childhood or family. His silence suggested a man guarding deep wounds, perhaps believing that comedy was his shield against tragedy. Yet, he understood that some pains were too raw to share, locking them away in a corner of his soul that no one could reach. Banner's personal life was as enigmatic as his past. In October 1940, he married Ilse Rodnitz, an Austrian actress and fellow refugee. They met at a New York fundraising event for immigrants, where Banner, still struggling with English, spoke with passion. Their wartime romance blossomed quickly, leading to marriage within months. But the union was fragile, built on the uncertainty of their new lives. Within 3 years, they separated, and their divorce soon followed. No records explain why, no photos capture their time together, and the breakup passed without fanfare. The silence surrounding their split only deepened the mystery of Banner's early years in America. For 25 years, Banner remained single, focusing on his career. Then, in 1965, at the height of his fame as Schultz, he married Renée Christine Gimon, a reserved French woman who shunned the spotlight. Described as calm and supportive, Renée stood by him at film premieres but avoided public attention. Their marriage, which lasted until Banner's death in 1973, was private and free of scandal. They had no children, a fact that puzzled fans and friends alike. Some speculated that Banner longed for children but hesitated, haunted by the trauma of his past. Others believed his devotion to acting left little room for family life. Whatever the reason, the absence of children left a quiet void in his story, a reminder of the personal sacrifices he made. Despite his guarded nature, Banner was not a recluse. He was an active member of the International Jewish Actors Guild and supported refugee aid campaigns after the war, a cause close to his heart. In Los Angeles, he hosted dinners for colleagues where they shared meals, played music, and spoke in German or Yiddish, a way to preserve the culture of his lost homeland. Known for his generosity, he mentored young actors, offering guidance with a gentle hand. A co-star from Hogan's Heroes recalled, "John was warm but distant, like a part of him was always somewhere else. Perhaps back in Stanislaw, where his parents were taken, where his childhood was stolen, where his dreams of a simple life burned away in the fires of war." As the 1970s dawned, Banner's career slowed. After the failure of the Chicago Teddy Bears, he stepped back from Hollywood, his days as a television star behind him. Many assumed he retired to enjoy a quiet life, but Banner had other plans. He returned to Vienna, the city of his youth, where his journey had begun. On January 28, 1973, his 63rd birthday, he died in a small Vienna apartment from sudden abdominal bleeding. The coincidence of his death falling on his birthday added a haunting layer to the tragedy. No farewell letter was found, only a brief medical report noting the cause of death. His passing was swift, silent, and unexpected. Banner's return to Vienna was more than a homecoming. Some historians believe the apartment where he died was part of a building once owned by his family before World War II, a place tied to his parents' deportation to Mauthausen. Choosing to spend his final days there suggests a deeper purpose, perhaps a quest for reconciliation with his past, a way to honor the roots he'd lost. But in that same place, his life ended, closing a chapter that began with promise and ended in solitude. After his death, the apartment remained vacant for years. His wife, Renee, disappeared from public view, with some reports suggesting she returned to France and died shortly after. No will was found, and no heirs came forward. Banner's personal belongings, from photographs to scripts to mementos of his career, vanished. Years later, images shared online showed a dilapidated apartment in central Vienna, its wooden doors peeling, a faded nameplate barely visible. A local resident commented, "I lived nearby for a decade and never knew a television star once lived there." In the city of his birth, John Banner's name left no lasting mark, a stark contrast to the fame he enjoyed in America. The news of his death barely rippled. The New York Times published a short tribute praising his role as Schultz and his contributions to television. A few Hogan's Heroes co-stars expressed grief, but the public mourning was minimal, surprising for a man who starred in one of the 1960s biggest sitcoms. Why did John Banner's life end so quietly? The question lingers, but the mystery deepens when we consider his vanished fortune. As a television star, Banner earned an estimated $250,000 annually in the 1960s, equivalent to millions today. His role in Hogan's Heroes, coupled with merchandise like I Know Nothing t-shirts and mugs, generated significant income. Yet, after his death, no estate surfaced. No will, no probate records, no auctions of his memorabilia. His Los Angeles home was sold before he moved to Vienna, but the proceeds are untraceable. Some theorize he transferred his wealth to Renee through a private agreement, bypassing legal systems. If true, her death without heirs may have left the estate frozen or claimed by the state. Others suggest Banner spent his fortune on travel, charity, or medical expenses in his final years. The truth remains elusive, with no public records to clarify the fate of his wealth. Fan efforts to recover Banner's memorabilia for exhibitions met dead ends. Even colleagues were unsure what he left behind. The absence of tangible relics, from scripts to personal letters, is striking for a figure of his stature. Perhaps Banner's greatest legacy wasn't material but emotional. The character of Sergeant Schultz, whose humor and humanity continue to resonate. Through reruns, Schultz still brings laughter, reminding us that kindness can endure even in the darkest times. His catchphrase, "I know nothing," carries a subtle wisdom, a lesson in surviving chaos with a quiet smile. John Banner's life was a tapestry of triumph and tragedy. He rose from a refugee with nothing to a television icon, only to fade into obscurity. His story challenges us to look beyond the laughter, to see the man who carried unspoken pain while giving the world joy. What do you think of John Banner's journey? A blend of humor and heartbreak. Share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories of forgotten stars who shaped our past.